Hey everybody, Alon from BeoNight here. Today I want to talk about the company, the purpose, what we're trying to achieve, how it came to be, why the name BeoNight. So it all started 2 years ago. I was shopping for some home goods. I wanted some nice mugs, some nice plates, real nice cutlery, and I like really minimalistic and modern stuff, and I couldn't really find anything. I went through Amazon, 50 pages. I went through Etsy, multiple suppliers. I couldn't find anything that I really liked. There was just like a lot of generic designs, put your lettering here, put your picture there. It just wasn't for me, and I couldn't really find anything like super sleek and super modern. There wasn't just anything that I liked. So one day I was with my girlfriend in a buffet, and it was a Chinese buffet. We were talking about their business model. I like to analyze those kinds of things, how they got our business, why do we keep coming back, is the food good? Like, we just talked about all these things, and all of a sudden I realized that I wanted to make something of my own. Maybe I wanted to open my coffee shop. That's something, that my family has been into for longest time, coffees and teas, and as an Eastern European, that's what we like. So that's where it was born. The initial idea was a coffee shop. I wanted to have my own. I wanted to make my own brand of coffee. I thought I had it all figured out, but it wasn't the case. I started contacting suppliers from different countries to give me some quotes, what the coffee is going to cost, what the manufacturing is like, how much of it can they actually adjust to my taste and stuff like that. I quickly realized that I was way over my head. The minimum quantities in terms of price, in terms of like physical quantity, I just couldn't meet that. I simply couldn't get $10,000 worth of inventory. Sometimes that's what the suppliers asked for. I couldn't meet that requirement, and so I was just, like I said, over my head. At that point, I had a website made, I had my logo made, I picked the name, I did all the not very important stuff at the time, but I didn't have the product. Later on, I started to study some marketing. Everybody kind of gets into the drop shipping because of its unique nature and very, very easy sort of entry for that. So I got into that. I didn't really like it. It wasn't for me because, like I said, I wanted to have my own product, something that worked for me. So now going back to the mugs, the cutlery, all the stuff that I initially wanted, I still couldn't find anything that was of value to me. And so I decided to, I've learned a little bit about marketing. I know kind of how to contact suppliers, how to gather information. So by no means I'm an expert in this field, but I felt more confident about this. So I decided, why not just do my own? I've been wanting a minimalistic cup that is compatible with mug warmers. I do a lot of work on my computer. I worked at my last job that was remote for 4 years, and so I spent a lot of time at the computer, and so I wanted something that I can just put on the mug warmer or something that doesn't get cold for multiple hours, and I wanted that, but there wasn't anything really available that I really liked. So why not make my own? And so I started my research as far as how to make one. I quickly realized that there's a lot of things involved. I knew nothing about 3D modeling, and it was kind of a prerequisite for designing a cup because I wanted a good handle, I wanted a nice shape, I wanted the nice thickness, I wanted something that retained heat for a little while. I wanted all these things. It was a lot to ask, and I had to design that somehow. So I got to work. I needed to learn 3D modeling. I tried some stuff out. I didn't really like it as well, but I ended up settling for Blender, and that's where I started. I started design with Blender, very, very primitive designs, very primitive cups, and it wasn't what I wanted, but it was a start. I wanted to start somewhere. As they say, some action is better than no action, and so that's what kind of led me into that path. And slowly, every day, incrementally, the design got better and better and better. The hardest part was handle. The handle was, I wanted to make it not only nice, I wanted to actually make it comfortable. It's very difficult to kind of get that. And I didn't want anything that's already on the market. Like I said, there's many cups that are just really are the same. There's a lot of designs that are put your image on it, put your words onto it, your text, whatever, but they're all, it's all repackaged, the same designs. That's not what I wanted. I didn't want to just kind of all the same. I wanted a unique product that's not only nice looking, something modern, but also functional. And so after months of designing, I decided to, you know what? I need something real. I need something to, am I wasting my time? I need something real to kind of visualize my product. You know, I can spend hundreds of hours designing that perfect handle, but then at the end of the day, I cannot feel it myself. Is it good? So that's where the idea of 3D printing got to me. I didn't know how to 3D print either, and the learning curve on that is quite challenging. Not something I would recommend to most people, but it's possible. It's certainly possible. There's a lot of resources that is available to you, but you do have to be, extremely. You have to be the person who's willing to learn, the type of person who's willing to fail 100 times while printing that first product or just printing about anything. There's going to be a lot of problems that are going to arise from the 3D printing, and it was a mess, but it was a useful mess. And so that's where I started. I got my first 3D printer. It was a complete disaster. Like they say, every master was once a disaster. That was me. Not to say that I'm a master now. There's still quite a bit to learn, but I got it to work quite well. And so I started to take the designs that I've created and start printing them, see what worked, see what didn't. And I share some of that journey in the Instagram that I have. It's going to be in the link down there somewhere. But I showed some of the first designs that were bad. They were bad, but incremental changes. If you only get 1% every day, at the end of the year, you could be theoretically 47%, or rather 47 times better than you were originally a year ago. So that's a huge boost to you as a person, right? And I started doing these things, and eventually one design got better, the other got better than the other, etc. And so it got to the point where I've already started contacting manufacturers. I could give them all of the details, all of the dimensions that I wanted, how I wanted it, the colors that I wanted, all of these things that wouldn't be possible if I didn't have my 3D printer. So all of these things needed to be done as a prerequisite to even having a product. Now, that's not to say that you can't design your product without 3D modeling or 3D printing, but that was the best course of action for me, something that really worked, and I wouldn't have taken the risks that I have taken without mastering those things first. And so I contacted manufacturers, I got some samples. The first two that I've got were absolutely awful and terrible, and I haven't worked with those manufacturers ever again. But I kept trying. I was discouraged, I will say, multiple times. Nobody can do the design that I wanted. There's always some kind of problem, so they back out of the deal at the last moment. There was a lot of problems with that, and it was quite challenging and disheartening to kind of go through this. It's been months and months and months, and I've obviously invested all this money and I haven't gotten anywhere. I kept trying. I had all these things already. I had a website, I had the logo, and although it wasn't coffee anymore that I wanted, I still thought that the design and the story that I have would have applied regardless. So I continued pushing, and I refined the design that I had. And to make it better than it was already before, I made adjustments to my requirements to manufacturers so that they're able to meet me sort of halfway, or just make it possible for them to actually deliver on my design. And so this is the final design. This is the final print that I've gotten. And it was a huge improvement from the first design that I have ever shown on my Instagram. If you don't know, you can go to Instagram at BeoNight. You'll see all the first designs that were in pink filament, and they were disaster, but it got better. I think it definitely got better. So this was the final design. It's obviously made out of plastic, but this is something that I used as a reference to what's going to be the final product. And so months and months and months in development. It's been almost 11 to 12 months or so. I finally got this. This is the final sample that I've gotten from the latest manufacturer. I worked a lot from them. I worked a lot with them. And so this is the final design, exactly what I wanted, exactly the colors that I wanted, the shape that I wanted. The handle is very close to what I already shown you on the plastic one. but it's quite an improvement, and it's the final design. And there were some challenges nonetheless, but that's okay, right? That it comes with the territory when you make something new, and I didn't want anything that was available in the market. So we got our logo, we got our shape, we got all the features that I wanted, and that's really it. For right now, this is kind of, the journey doesn't end. This is kind of where we're currently at. But I thought I'll make this video and show you kind of what the origins were of this, and why we even started doing this, how long it took, and you know, all the pain that came with it. So thank you everybody for watching. I'll probably make something like this again, and take care.